Now, a while back, I made a video on Mario Kart 9 and whether it would be different from the other games in the series, and the response to that video largely seemed to be a bunch of people talking about how the next Mario Kart would actually be a Nintendo Kart, which is basically Mario Kart, but with characters from across a ton of Nintendo series, almost like Super Smash Bros., but in cars. Hey, don't look at me, I didn't come up with it. That wasn't what I was hoping people would get out of that video, per se, but at least it wasn't as big of a goof as the Netflix Smart TV debacle of '02. Anyways, I think people got this idea after Link, Inkling, Villager, and Isabelle were added to Mario Kart 8 in the DLC and in 8 Deluxe. And I don't know, some big YouTube star probably said something about it once and everyone latched onto it. But the point is, a lot of people now want and expect Mario Kart 9 to be Nintendo Kart. But I actually don't think that's the right way to go. Hello all 1,378 of you, I'm Redkwan, and I like to go against the popular opinion on every topic so I feel special and unique. Now here's the thing. On the surface, it seems like this so-called Nintendo Kart would just be Mario Kart but with characters and tracks from other game series added in. Probably because that's exactly what it would be. And in comparison to Mario Kart, you're just adding in more varied content, so there shouldn't really be any problem, because it's just Mario Kart 9, but with more. By making it more general, you might appeal to people who are fans of other big Nintendo series, which could help you sell better, and you're able to use a lot more interesting concepts and areas for tracks. So with all of that, what's the problem? And I think it comes down to a few things. One of the problems I see with it is the fact that it would mean making sacrifices. Taking Mario Kart and adding in a bunch of other characters means there's gonna have to be something that takes a hit. I'm not saying making new characters takes a terribly long time, although maybe they do. If somebody has an uncle who works at Nintendo and you can confirm, that'd be great. But even assuming they don't take too much time to make, they still will take some time, and I can't imagine Nintendo will want to spend too much time fitting in a bunch of non-Mario characters into the game when they really don't have to. So either we would end up seeing a bunch of Mario characters getting cut, which to some people might be okay, but I think would be kind of a bummer, or you would see only a few non-Mario characters get added, and if you do that, it kinda defeats the purpose. Plus, it's just kinda weird, calling a game Nintendo Kart, and then having 70% of the characters be from Mario. I guess they could cut down on the number of tracks to make up for it, but the tracks are more important than the characters, so I think that would be a real waste. And while they could theoretically just take a longer development time, that's extra money and time that could have been spent on something else, just to please fans who are probably going to buy the game anyway. And you might say, well, Redkwan, it's not like they have to call it Nintendo Kart if it's still mostly just Mario characters, with just a few other series characters added in. And I know they could keep calling it Mario Kart and just have 5 to 10 non-Mario characters slide into the lineup. But like I said, it does sort of defeat the purpose of making a Nintendo Kart in the first place, when you likely only have a few series involved and only 1 or 2 characters from each, and even with just a few of those characters in, it could really just make the whole package a lot more confusing. But you can't call it Nintendo Kart because some people won't recognize it as the next Mario Kart, and the Mario Kart name is just iconic at this point. So change it to Nintendo Kart and you'll ruin the marketability, and keep it as Mario Kart and you'll be a big fat liar. The most accurate way you can describe it would be mostly Mario Kart, and that looks terrible on the box art. Now you might say, Redkwan, what about Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing? That did the very same thing. Honestly, I don't think anyone would have actually brought this up, so I'm just making myself look bad by pointing it out. But the reason that works is because the naming wasn't already established like Mario Kart is, and none of Sega's other characters are recognizable by the general public. Was this a good point? Probably not, but my overall point here so far is that making a Nintendo Kart would mean making sacrifices, and the only reasonable sacrifice I think they could make is by just not including that many non-Mario characters. Anything else would be wasteful, making the game worse, or taking out a lot of fan-favorite characters. And if they only had a few non-Mario characters, it'd be weird, it'd be confusing, and it would almost defeat the purpose of making a Nintendo Kart in the first place. But maybe you aren't convinced by the points I've made so far, and you think some non-Mario characters is better than none, and the naming of the game isn't something that would really do anything wrong. But then you run into other problems. For example, the money. I touched on this a little earlier, that it does seem wasteful, and what I meant by that was that adding in these other Nintendo characters is extra work for nothing in return. I don't think any sizable amount of people is going to decide to buy Mario Kart 9 just because it has Kirby in it or whatever. I don't think that'll happen, because the thing is, the characters in Mario Kart don't really matter. Sure, it might be fun to see, but the characters make no real difference in gameplay, and you barely even see their faces while you're playing. And Mario Kart is one of those games where if you like them, you're probably just gonna buy the next one anyway. Maybe a few more people would get it, but nothing that would make any substantial difference, and the added time to make the characters probably wouldn't be worth it. Again, it's just time, money, and resources that could be going to more important things, like making more tracks, improving the gameplay, or working on some different project. And honestly, a lot of why I don't want to see a Mario Kart 9 become Nintendo Kart is that it would ruin the feel of the game. Mario Kart has a certain feel to it, and I think it gives the game a lot of character. But to be honest, I didn't really like the additions of Link and the Inklings in Mario Kart 8. It wasn't terrible, seeing as it was only 3 characters and a couple of courses, but it just didn't really seem like it fit. Both the characters and the tracks and courses from the game seem a little off. Not gonna lie, the Animal Crossing stuff fit right in, but I think almost all of these other Nintendo series would take away more than they add. Splatoon and Zelda both give off very different tones from Mario, and the other big Nintendo series like Metroid, Star Fox, F-Zero, Fire Emblem, and Pokemon would feel even more off. Mario games have a much more wacky and unique atmosphere, which lends really well to a kart racing game. But I don't feel like these other series do that at all. There just aren't enough of those crazy concepts, and there isn't that jolly old feel of Mario Kart games. They might be cool for a couple of courses if they were used very sparingly, but having too many courses that feel sort of normal and serious would ruin what Mario Kart does so well. Why do people know all the Mario Kart tracks in a game by heart and have their all-time favorites? Because the designs incorporate fun and inventive ideas based on the wacky world of Mario. Why don't people care as much about other kart racers like Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, yet completely adore Mario Kart games? Not because of the characters, who you don't even really see, not because of the items, which, let's be honest, every kart racer completely rips off, but because of the goofy atmosphere that Mario captures so much better than any other series I can think of. Why don't you end the video already? Alright, you got me there. So why don't I want to see Nintendo Kart? Well, I don't think it would work very well logistically, either from needing to sacrifice more important things like tracks, gameplay, and development resources for other projects, all while not making Nintendo any better off for it. The naming would be somewhat confusing, and most importantly, it wouldn't be Mario Kart anymore. And while adding these Nintendo characters into the game might seem like a fun idea, I think it would take away from the feel and fun nature of the series, and it would be worse because of it. Well, I'm Redkwan. How do you feel about a Nintendo Kart? I'm impressively bad at changing people's minds, so you're probably all still totally down. Does your uncle work at Nintendo? If so, can you fill me in on the character making process in Mario Kart? This video feels like it ended on too serious of a note, so I'm gonna force a bad joke in here to lighten the mood. What is the pink peach in Mario Kart 8 made of? 24 kart gold. Well, I'll never do that again. Anyways, I'm Redkwan, thank you all for watching, and I'll hopefully see you all later. Goodbye.